Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers release. As we finally get to finish off the new Wild Roars, we have the Irritator, which is the newest version of the Irritator to release. We now have 3 different versions of Irritators, as we have 2 versions similar to this, and then we also have the Hammond Collection version that has recently released, and definitely looking really cool. I actually have been so hyped for this. A lot of people kind of dismissed this one after the announcement of the Hammond Collection version, but I've actually been really psyched for this one. Honestly, this one was probably my most anticipated for the Wild Roar line, so I'm really psyched to actually have it here now. But you can see, again, the box art is pretty much your standard when it comes to the Dino Trackers line, and then if we turn it around, you can see a sneak peek of the Irritator here, the action feature that it has going on, along with an image over here of the Regaloceratops, Orcoraptor, and Nigersaurus, which we have reviewed all of those already on the channel. If you are interested in checking out reviews of those, definitely check the other videos out here on the channel. But again, like I said, so psyched to see this, so let's pop it out of the box and check it out. And here is our brand new Wild Roar Irritator, and it really does look quite cool. I really like this. I think the thing that really drew me in the most is the new kind of paddle-like tail that it has going on, because it is very different than any other Irritator we've had from Mattel, including the Hammond Collection version. So that one really sets this figure apart from the others, I think. But I actually really like the paint scheme. I honestly think it looks great. Almost kind of like with these greens here on the face, you can, of course, take those as, body color, but it almost kind of makes it look like maybe it was in a swamp and it kind of like rose up through the water to look around and has like the algae and stuff that's on at the top of the water kind of all on its face. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But of course, you could just look at it as the coloration of the Irritator, which I think also is, of course, really nice. So let's jump to a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Irritator, you can see it has somewhat of a similar look to the older one as far as the style of the head sculpt, but honestly, a good bit of difference as well. You can really see the skin texture looks quite different. We have some kind of finer scaling, but it looks really nice, definitely really vibrant, especially on the lower jaw. We have interlocking teeth on this version as well. You can see we've got that crest up on the top of the head, and we also have a nicely painted eye with kind of a red-orange, and then we have that darker tone for the upper part of the head, which is the coloration of the pupil. It doesn't appear as though we have an actual black pupil, but I don't think it by any means looks bad. And of course, again, you can open the mouth to get a nice look at the inside of the mouth and, of course, the really cool teeth, but you can see the tongue is sculpted out really nicely. Like, you can actually see some beautiful texturing on the tongue, and you can also see some nice detailing there on the inside of the mouth on the upper side as well. And all of the teeth are painted very nicely, very carefully, and the inside of the mouth as well as the teeth kind of have a glossy look to them, which helps to add a nice element of realism, I would say. You can, of course, also see the nostrils there for our Irritator, and as you begin to move back here, I absolutely love these greens on the face of this figure. You can see that there's just kind of like splattered greens all over the face, and I really actually think it would have looked cool if we had continued this darker tone through the majority of the body and just continued with this kind of green just littering the body. I think it would have looked really neat, but regardless, I think they've done a very good job of choosing some cool colors here for the face. You can also see we have a brown for the lower jaw, and as you begin to move back here into the neck, you can see that that darker kind of a variation of a brown disappears, and now we have this brown that we see for the lower jaw overtaking the majority of the body, but we continue to have those greens kind of splotched all over and just kind of splattered all over. We start to have kind of almost like a small sail-like look running along the back of the neck. You can also see some osteoderms and stuff as you move down the course of the neck, as well as, again, some finer scaling there. We have a little bit more of that here on the underside of the throat as well, almost like giving it sort of a fin-like look, which looks pretty cool. As we continue to move down, you see that green continues down into the shoulder and upper spine area, but it does disappear here as we reach the body. You can see not even like gradually, it just kind of is gone. Like right here between this little slightly sail-like area to this area, it's just gone completely. But as you move down into the arm, you can see again some more kind of scoots and stuff there in the arm. Lots of really nice skin detail in the arm. You can just see like wrinkling and creasing all through the arm, which looks really cool. Some nice muscle definition displayed, and you also have some pretty nice hand sculpts, and I love the fact that the wrists are not pronated, which is really cool. And the nails, although they don't actually have paintwork, they absolutely have a definitive kind of satin look, a glossy look to them, so that does help them look, a little bit different, helps them to stand out, and I think that was a really, really nice choice on the part of Mattel. And the fingers look pretty good as well as far as the sculpting and the, fine detail with the skin texture. But as you move back up here into the body, you can take notice to the rib cage right there. Some nice creasing and wrinkling in the skin in the lower part of the stomach. And as you lead up, you start to have this really cool design with this really dark tone kind of just leading up and almost creating like flames moving up into the side of the dinosaur. It looks really, really cool. You can see again we have like larger scales moving along this upper kind of spinal column area with that slightly sail-like look. You can see again that we have quite a bit of larger scaling moving up there and finer scaling as you move down here into the side. And you again have that design as you move down the course of the legs. You've also got all kinds of scoots and stuff there moving down. You can see the kneecap there on the front of the leg. Also some nice muscle definition there in the calf. The legs are kind of short, I feel like, but they still look pretty darn nice. You have some nice scoots running down the toes, and again, the nails have that kind of glossy look to them, similar to what we had on the hands, so that helps them to stand out yet again down here. I really like that. If we had nail paint, it would have been cooler, but it's still nice to see that they did do something to kind of differentiate the nails. Really like that. Hope they continue to do that. And you can also see the dew claw, which also has that kind of glossy look to it. But as you move back up here, you can see a few more kind of skin wrinkles and creases as you move out, some more kind of larger osteoderms or scoots there. And you can see that that darker tone begins to overtake the entire tail. And once you reach this joint here where you can swivel the tail, you now see the tail is completely overtaken with that dark tone. There is no other coloration out here, but you can also see again that we have that kind of paddle-like tail here moving out with those larger scales that we saw kind of running along the back of the dinosaur the whole way down, and that really nice finer kind of reptilian style scaling as you move down the course of the tail, with again your occasional osteoderm and stuff moving out. Really nice curve to the tail as well. Almost gives it the appearance, in my opinion, of it swimming along. I really could see this, swimming along, and that would be how the tail would kind of be swimming and following it, similar to what you see on like an alligator or a crocodile. And then as you take a look at the opposing side, you're not really going to see a whole lot of difference, especially in the first half of the dinosaur, because, the head's straight forward. We don't have any kind of alternate turn or anything going on here. But you can see the paintwork looks really nice. The sculpt work as well looks really nice. Of course, with a figure in kind of a neutral position for the first half, you're really not going to see a whole lot of difference. But it is nice to see that the quality control is under control here, because we don't have sloppiness with the eye or paintwork otherwise. And as you move back, you can see the arms pretty much in the same position as the opposing one, but as you reach the legs, you can see the leg on this side is leading quite significantly compared to what we see on the leg on the opposing side. But of course, the same style of paint, same style of foot sculpt and everything, just different positioning for the leg, and then of course you lead back out again into that tail. And we also have some okay detailing on the underside, but it's always kind of broken up by all the areas here for like the sound and the battery compartment and everything. But that is an absolutely awesome looking figure. Let's get the Jurassic Facts app code up actually before I forget. There you go, to add the Irritator to your collection. But this is definitely an awesome new version of the Irritator from Mattel. Really hyped to have this one, and really, hyped in general to now have 3 Irritator releases from Mattel. As far as articulation goes, you obviously had already seen the articulated jaw, which works pretty nicely. We also have articulation in the neck here, but we'll get to that because that's definitely part of the action feature. You can move the arm forward and back, which is really nice, and of course you can really go quite high, and you can also move the arm out away from the body for a little extra added articulation. Same deal for the legs, forward and back. You can also move the legs out away from the body and then of course back in, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And then you of course have the swivel tail here at the end, and that's nothing really all that incredible, but it is extra added articulation. Then as far as the action feature goes, just like all of the others, we have a little button here that we can kind of maneuver back and forth. So we'll go ahead and see what the action feature is, then we'll get a look at or a listen to the sounds. So you can kind of see that we have like a head tilt and a snapping feature that occurs, which is pretty cool. Pretty much what you would want when it comes to a dinosaur, for the most part, when it comes to a theropod dinosaur, I should say. But as far as a listen to the sounds go, There's definitely some fun sounds in there. I think they sound pretty cool. But as far as the size goes, for a length from the snout to the tail, about 13 3/4 inches, or around the 34.5, closing in on 35 centimeter mark. And then for a height to the top of that little crest, you're looking at about 4 1/4 inches, or around 11 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Wild Roar Irritator, and you can see again, it's pretty much exactly the size you would expect it to be. When it comes to the Wild Roar line, the figures are always right there in the same similar size range. So at this point, we are all very well aware of what the size of the figure would be, considering it's in like the Roarivore, Wild Roar, similar size ranges to that. But for a comparison that I definitely want to see, there is the older Irritator next to the newer one, and they look super cool next to each other. I really don't know which one I prefer, honestly. I mean, it's kind of a tough call. I like both. I really am a big fan of both. I thought for sure I was going to say the newer one, but having the two of them next to each other, I kind of forgot how nice the older one was. But they definitely look really neat together. They could be really cool companion pieces when it comes to both display as well as any type of dinosaur toy photography you might have in your mind. Really cool looking together. And then we also have the Hammond Collection version of the Irritator next to the new Wild Roar version. And you can see these two look pretty cool as well, but very different as far as the style and appearance on the Hammond Collection version compared to the more mainline Mattel versions. It seems like the mainline ones have like that one specific style to them, but the Hammond Collection version just has a totally different appearance to it compared to what you see in the mainline. But definitely another comparison that I felt like was pretty necessary for this Irritator. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers Wild Roar Irritator is another super cool figure from Mattel, and one that I am definitely excited to have here now. Finally completing my new round of Wild Roars as far as both reviews go, but also my collection. Definitely happy to finally have this one here, as it was a little pesky to get a hold of, and luckily it shipped from Big Bad Toy Store, which I believe you can now purchase this entire wave of Wild Roars on Big Bad Toy Store if you are interested, if you happen to be missing any, or if you're just tired of waiting for Amazon to ship. Big Bad Toy Store is the way to go. I love ordering from them. But you can see again, the sculpt of this one looks really nice, very different from the older one, a lot finer when it comes to the skin texture, very different style of scale detail as a whole, but I think it looks really good, really natural and realistic throughout. I think the skin detail on this is actually quite phenomenal, a lot better than the older one as well, and they've done a very good job of adding in really nice small kind of skin wrinkles and skin folds throughout that help this thing to look a lot more realistic and lifelike, I think, than the older Irritator. The figure also has that super cool paddle-like tail, which isn't something we've really seen very much of here in the Mattel line, and definitely really excited to see that. I actually kind of hope that at some point maybe they'll make a Spinosaurus, but a more accurate sort of interpretation of a Spinosaurus just to go with these figures, because it would be pretty neat to see something like that, especially a Spino with a paddle-like tail. But I think they, again, as a whole, did a very good job of making this one look quite different from the older one to really differentiate the two. But the paint job is really cool on this one as well. I actually am a big fan of the colors on it, the tones of colors. It all looks really nice and natural, and the figure for the most part has almost a fully painted feel to it, because we have a lot of color variation from head to tail, which makes the figure stand out kind of as a cut above the rest when it comes to many other Mattel figures. The only thing, of course, with this would be painted nails would have helped, but they did add a really cool kind of a satin shine to the nails, so that does help them to stand out and differentiate them from the rest of the body, which kind of gives them the feel of having nail paint. You also have an action feature, which is pretty fun, nothing amazing, but it's pretty much what you would expect. It also has some pretty cool noises, which, again, are pretty similar to what you would expect for this type of dinosaur, probably similar to the older Irritator, but I haven't really listened to the roars or anything on that one in quite some time, so maybe not, I could be wrong, but they sound like pretty much what you would expect when it comes to a Mattel theropod dinosaur. But again, the Figure as a whole is really cool. It's got a fun action feature, fun noises, gorgeous sculpt, really cool paint, some pretty awesome articulation, so definitely a win yet again from Mattel, and I would say my favorite of this Wild Roar line, with the Nigersaurus kind of right behind it. So if you are interested in picking this up, as I said, I grabbed mine from Big Bad Toy Store, so I will include a link in the description to where you can do the same from Big Bad Toy Store. So make sure you check that link, go grab this absolutely awesome figure, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.